morning, Jason, Rowan. This is Mrs. Jansen, and we are about ready to get started on the second part of our Eric Carle inspired warm and cool color collages. So this is just a reminder of what our project looks like. We have our chicken, and we have that layered with several circles, actually 4 of them, triangles for beaks. We've got a little
and the comb,
top of the rooster, and we've got our neck and body and side wings with lots of feathers, feet and little claws, and of course our really fun tail feathers. We have some additional little worms and butterflies. So it's just going to be a lot of fun to cut out all of these different shapes and to create our own little chicken. So I hope you had fun looking at the Eric Carle video. There are a lot of his videos about how he works that I encourage you to watch because it's just a lot of fun. But we're going to go ahead and get started on the making of our collage. The things that you are going to need for this project are your 4 sheets from last week of warm and cool colors. We're going to be using these to cut up. The large sheet of colored paper that we will use for the background. Mine is pink, but yours should be yellow or orange. A scissors and a pencil. And then, of course, you also are going to need some glue. Now, you can see my glue. This is what I would recommend that you use, but that you use it with the top on it. My glue is pretty much dried out, so I won't be able to use this. But if you have Elmers glue all, this is multi-purpose glue, this is what I recommend. Because mine is dried out, I'm going to be using my Craft Bond glue stick. Again, I recommend the other glue because it will hold the paper better. So do what you have. We're going to go ahead and get started. I want you to set out all of your papers near you so you can decide what you're going to choose. The first part of our chicken, and the biggest part, is the body. So the body is basically a circular shape. So what we're going to do is I'm going to use kind of those brown colored sections that I did. I'm going to use that for my body. I'm going to go ahead, flip that over, and I'm just going to draw a square off the corner. You're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut that. Now, if you remember from kindergarten and young 5s, we make a circular shape by cutting off the corners of our square to help get us down to a circle. I want you to save all of your triangles because we will use these for decorations potentially on our chicken. The next thing that you're going to do is you're just going to cut off those little edges that are left from cutting off the corners. And again, this is what you've been learning with Mr. Warner last year, and if you did young 5s, you would have been doing this in young 5s as well, and in kindergarten. So, and there we have the body of our chicken. So, I'm looking at my paper now, and I'm seeing that we need a neck, and I want to do that with this same kind of brown section. That is a rectangular shape. So I have this brown side. I'm going to flip it over and I'm just going to draw some lines here. So I have a rectangle. So just right where I drew my square, I'll just cut that. And if we flip that over, you can see how that's going to be the neck. Now this is a little bit wide, and when I'm looking at our chicken here, we want it to get a little bit narrower, so it's really wide here and then it goes in a little bit. Again, we're going to do kind of what we did with the square into a circle. We're going to cut off the corners. like that. Save these because we can use these for feathers. I'm going to clean off those edges, those little sharp corners. The next thing that we're going to need is the head. In the head we have a circle, and then we have another circle for the eye, and then we have a smaller circle for the interior of the eye, and then another one with the pupil. So, and if you look at this, we did these with warm colors. I think you want to do the head all with either warm colors or cool colors. That's your choice. I'm going to stick with the warm because I like how much they pop. We'll use our little scraps for feathers and tail feathers as well. For the head, I'm going to take my warm colored orange and red. Again, I'm just going to kind of make a square off the corner of my paper. Make a square. I'm going to follow that. And we're going to make it into a circle by cutting off the corners again. And we want to save those corners because we can use these for feathers and beaks later. Then the little edges that we have left, we're going to trim those down. Okay, so there we have an orange head. So that's starting to get exciting. You can see before we put another warm one, we're going to do a cool one for the eye. So I'm going to take some of my paper with the yellow. And this time, because I want to get a bright yellow part because the rest is so orange, I'm going to draw my square so I know I'm going to get yellow so I can see it. And we'll cut off the corners. And then trim those little rough, sharp edges we make. Now that's a little big, so now you can see how that works. So that stands out. You can see we've got our head, our cool, our warm, and now we're going to do another cool color for the pupil. And I'm just going to cut a little bit of a square out of my paper. We're going to need some beaks. Now I already have some triangles here, but when I look at this, I think those triangles would be better in yellow because the orange is too strong. So I'm just going to cut the corner off of my warm color sheet. And get some more yellow so then you can see the beak better. Okay. This is a rooster, so we need to get the wattle, which is the bottom triangular part here. So I'm going to flip it over my warm color, and I'm going to draw just those straight lines to make a rectangle on the edge. So I've got my orange piece. Really kind of start to see how that's going to look. Next we need the comb on the top, and we're going to do that with cool colors. I think for this part I would just recommend that you cut off a strip and then a rectangle, and then we'll flip this over. And we want to do this shape. So we want to do our wavy lines. Like that. So it kind of looks like hills or mountains. We're going to cut off around that. So there we have it. Next, we're going to need a wing. So let's take that same strip that we have. We'll flip it over again. And I just want you to kind of do a circle and then pull lines off the side of it to the edge. And that will be our wing. So you can see kind of how that's going to look. Then we'll be putting orange feathers. I'm going to cut a strip off of my warm colors. And you can just have fun cutting out different shapes for feathers. And you want them some to be big and some to be small. And save your little pieces because we might need those a little bit later on. Okay, so I think we're getting a good sense the different parts. So I think we're going to start gluing down part of our pieces so they don't get lost. Next, you're going to want to glue on your eye after you have your head on. And remember, our eye we have our big section of it. And then we've got the second layer. And the third layer, which is the pupil. So you can see how that builds up. And again, if you need to press down or take a break. The wing on now. I'm going to I have a jar of water that had paint in it. I'm going to put that down so it holds the glue down. Next, I'm going to start putting my warm wings on. Feathers. Warm colored. Next, we're going to cut out some tail feathers. Again, I just want to remind you, you just can cut out these long shapes. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So I would say you want at least 4 warm and 4 cool. And you can make them slightly different sizes. They're going to be the tail feathers in the back. So I'm just going to take again my warm, cut out rectangles or a strip like this, and then just cut these into feathers. It'll look something like that. I'm going to make this one into a feather as well. And you want to have at least 4. I cut another strip, and I'm just changing that into a feather. And I think I'll just do one more. So I'm going to do the same thing with my cool colored. I'm going to cut out a couple strips. And then we're going to go ahead and glue these down. I'm going to move my jar on top of here to help press down. So we've got the major part of our chicken's body on. The last thing we need to add are the legs. If you look at our sample one, we have them in our greens and yellows. So that would be our cool colors. So we're going to cut out some strips. Now, so I can kind of stick that under. We'll see how that looks. It'll be like that. And then we're going to need a bunch of triangles, 1, 2, 3, 4 per foot. You can cut off another strip. And just keep cutting off the edge like that. And that will keep making triangles. Go from one corner diagonal across the paper. And you can see all these triangles that I've made. And we are going to glue those for the feet. But before we glue them all down, we want to make sure that we glue down some ground on the bottom. So you can see we have paper that goes all the way across the bottom. So I want you to take whatever color you want and we'll put that on the bottom. I'm going to do mine with my yellow. So that my little claws stick out. And that will be the ground. And I'll do some with this one, my orange and pink one. We'll put that over here. Now for this, on the back of that strip, I'm going to get glue on the back of this one. So you can see the ground is this nice warm colored paper. Then you can go ahead and glue down your legs. And you can see I'm tucking mine underneath the body of the chicken a little bit. And this one I'm going to have kind of kicking back like it's walking. So you can see this one looks like it's moving. This one will be moving forward. For the triangles, you're going to do one on the side, another one on the other side, and one in the middle, and then one in the back. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Taking my triangles, we've got one on the one side, one on the other side, one in the center. Now this is just, if you're you're doing this and you really want some of your glue to dry, like I said earlier, you can take a break, pause the video, and come back and finish this later. So I'm moving this heavy water jar to hold down my glued pieces. In the front part of that leg, this one in the center, and one last triangle which will go on the back of its leg. So you can see what we have so far. We have our chicken. You can see his body, wings, tail feather, head with his beak, his little comb on top, his eyes. I've got his legs down here. One is kind of going out in the back like it's walking, and we have ground. I want you to create a couple little extras with your extra paper. On this one, they created a worm with an eye and a mouth and a butterfly. You can go ahead and cut out whatever other little creatures. I'd like you to add at least 2, but if you want to do 3, you can go ahead and do that. There you have it. Worm, some butterflies, our chicken with all sorts of details. A fun Eric Carle inspired collage. I hope you had fun. I can't wait to see what you create on Seesaw. Show me. Don't forget to write your name at the bottom.